सर्वधर्मस्थापकत्वं सर्वधर्मस्वरूपकः आचार्याणां महाचार्यो रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. O establisher of all the faiths, embodiment of all the religions, the greatest teacher among all the teachers, O Sri Ramakrishna, my salutations to you. So on this eventful day of 5th August 1882, meeting of the powerhouse of knowledge, meeting of the embodiment of knowledge, and meeting another highly learned person, a great scholar, Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Sri Ramakrishna meeting Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, and Sri Ramakrishna is very much impressed by the tenderness of Vidyasagar's heart. He knows how compassionate this highly knowledgeable person is. And that is in fact true. A person with great knowledge is always humble, is always with the tender heart, with the compassionate heart, always keen on giving a helping hand to those in need. And Sri Ramakrishna says that you are the ocean of knowledge. You are not ocean of ignorance. When Sri Pandit Ishwar Chandra said him that since you are saying that you have come to meet the ocean, then take some salt water with you. Sri Ramakrishna says you are not the ocean of salt water. You are not the ocean of ignorance. You are the ocean of knowledge. You are the ocean of Vidya. You are Vidya Sagar. Such a tender, loving, caring heart you are possessing. You are ocean of condensed milk, not ocean of salt. So, salt water. So that's how after the preliminary pleasant talks, Sri Ramakrishna turned the talk now towards the transcendental. And he started discussing about Brahman. And one point Sri Ramakrishna always emphasized was Brahman cannot be described in words. Brahman as an entity, as an ultimate reality, is only to be realized by ourself, by oneself. It is only to be experienced. And Sri Ramakrishna told that once one gets the knowledge of Brahman, one becomes speechless. Because what Brahman is cannot be put in words. Brahman is beyond the grasp of our five senses. And then to put this point in our minds, in our hearts, Sri Ramakrishna told that story of the father and his two sons. He had sent both the sons to study under a great teacher to know what Brahman is. After a few years, when both the sons came back, Sri Ramakrishna asked one son that what is Brahman, and this son, he started rattling verses and verses and texts from the spiritual scriptures, from Vedas, from Upanishads, from Puranas. And father kept quiet. Father just listened to all the blabbering of the son of this is Brahman, Brahman is like this, Brahman is like that. Kept quiet, indicating that he's not very happy with the way his son has described Brahman. And then the younger son, when father asked him, now you tell me, what have you learned? This son just kept quiet. He was absolutely silent, eyes cast down, standing obediently in front of his father, not a word coming out of his mouth. What is Brahman? He is mum. And his father said, well, my child, you have understood Brahman a little. What Brahman is cannot be described through words. So that was Sri Ramakrishna's teaching to us in our previous reading. Today the meeting goes on between Sri Ramakrishna and Pandit Vidyasagar. And Sri Ramakrishna keeps on telling, as for what has been said in the Vedas and Puranas about Brahman, that is just a superficial information. He says it is not the Vedas and Puranas, nothing can describe what Brahman is. Whatever information find, Brahman is this, Brahman is that. It is all superficial information. It doesn't give us any clue as to what Brahman is. Sri Ramakrishna says, suppose a man has seen ocean and you go and ask him, what is ocean like? How can he describe the vastness of the ocean? At the most, Sri Ramakrishna says, this man will express with his gestures, oh, such a vast, tremendous water body, and what sounds. That's all he can express. What ocean is, we can come to know only when we go there and we see what is ocean. We cannot describe it. We can only feel it. We can only experience it. That is the difference of description of Brahman in Vedas and Puranas, Sri Ramakrishna says. Sri Ramakrishna says Vedas and Puranas, they can describe Brahman only to a limited extent. They have described Brahman is of the nature of bliss. It is the Satchitananda. It is the existence, knowledge, bliss absolute. That is the only description you can find in the written scriptures. That is the only way that Brahman can be expressed. But what Brahman is, that has only to be seen for oneself. That has only to be realized by oneself. That is only to be experienced by oneself. You cannot find that definition or description of Brahman in you. It is just a small clue. That's it. Satchidananda Brahman. Now, Sri Ramakrishna says that you get this knowledge of Brahman only in samadhi. When you get that ultimate enlightenment, the ultimate illumination, when you get into that stage of nirvana, into the ultimate samadhi, only then you can know what Brahman is. And when you know what Brahman is, you become one with the Brahman. And when you become one with the Brahman, how can you describe what Brahman is? You are beyond that state. We transcend this worldly the resources. We transcend these worldly limitations. Today we perceive world only because of the five senses. Now, when we get into samadhi, we go beyond the realm of the five senses. And what that experience is, that cannot be then described. So that is the state, Sri Ramakrishna says, when one realizes Brahman. And when one becomes one with the Brahman, how can we describe? And for that, Sri Ramakrishna has now given so many beautiful, short, precise, and very apt examples. Sri Ramakrishna says, once a salt doll decided to find the depth of ocean. Now, salt doll, she comes up, the salt is coming up from the ocean itself. So salt doll went to measure the depth of ocean. The moment she entered the waters of the ocean, what happened with the salt? That salt doll became one with the ocean. She could not come back and tell how deep is the ocean. So that is one example Sri Ramakrishna always gives. And another example Sri Ramakrishna gives, a devotee asks that having got the knowledge, suppose man has obtained the knowledge of Brahman in samadhi, is it that he doesn't speak anymore? Sri Ramakrishna says a few, like Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya. He says, such people can retain the ego of knowledge. And then they try to describe Brahman in these small limited words. But that's all. Even Shankaracharya cannot give full description of the Brahman, what Brahman is. You don't find any. So Shankaracharya has written so many stotras, the hymns, and on all the gods and goddesses. But there is no hymn as such on what is Brahman. It cannot be described. Like Sri Ramakrishna said, that there is only a superficial information, description of Brahman in all this scriptural literature. So these people who have known Brahman, they will keep a ego of knowledge for teaching others. Now these are the category of people. This you don't find in ordinary, these people we don't find in the from ordinary walks of life. These are the Nitya Jivas, these are the ever-free souls. Like Sri Ramakrishna had taught us about the 4 types of Jivas. These are the ever-free souls who are way beyond the grasp of Maya, way beyond the grasp of delusion of the worldly dualities, the materialistic dualities. These are the people, but they also, Sri Ramakrishna says, they have a limitation. Only to a limited extent they will share that knowledge. But when it comes to real knowledge, there is nothing but silence. And here Sri Ramakrishna again quotes another example. He says, if you heat butter in a pan on the hot stove, it makes sizzling sound as long as there is moisture in it. Till the time there is moisture in butter, it will give that splittering sound, pat, all that. But the moment water dries out from butter, once it is pure ghee, clarified butter, there is no sound. It is all silent process. So that is most practical example Sri Ramakrishna has given as far as the splattering sound of butter is concerned. Only till the time the ego of knowledge is kept by these people, they will talk about Brahman. But beyond that, no. What Brahman is, that has to be, that cannot be explained. It is totally a silent process once the ghee is made. No sound after that. And Sri Ramakrishna says, again, in this clarified butter, in this ghee, you put a cake of a flour, again that will make some sound. Till the time that the cake flour has some moisture in it. When it is fried, then again there is, when that moisture completely goes off, then there is no noise at all. Then it is again a silent process. Just so, a man established in samadhi comes down to the relative plane of consciousness in order to teach others. And then he talks about God. Then he doesn't talk about Brahman. Then he talks about God. And that's how Shankaracharya wrote so many beautiful hymns on so many gods and goddesses. You won't find the creation that by any other ever-free soul than Shankaracharya, who has written stotras on almost all the deities. But he was Advaitic. In spite of being Advaitic, he could play around in that realm of Dvaita. That is the beauty of these people like Shankaracharya, the ever-free souls, the man of knowledge, who come only to teach others. For the sake of ignorant, the Advaitin comes down to the plane of Dvaita and shares this knowledge. So that is another example Sri Ramakrishna has given, that till the time moisture is there in these things, that splattering noise is made. After that, it is all silence. A bee buzzes as long as it is not sitting on the flower. Now, if you have noticed, if you have gone to garden and seen any bee, hovering over the flower, it is making noise, that goo, 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 goo noise. But the moment bee sits on a flower, the noise totally stops. That bee is totally silent. That humming of the bee, buzz of the bee, it totally stops when the bee sits on flower. It becomes silent when it begins to sip the honey. Then there is no more noise. But sometimes intoxicated with the honey, then she buzzes again. But that buzz is momentary. So that is another example Sri Ramakrishna has given. Till what time a jnani can talk about Brahman? Very limited, very limited. And then another example. Sri Ramakrishna has no dearth of examples. He's full of examples when it comes to sharing this kind of transcendental knowledge. Sri Ramakrishna says, An empty pitcher makes a gurgling sound when it is dipped in water. But when it fills up, it is all silent. That when empty pitcher we put in water, the air goes out, water comes in, only till it is not full. Once it is full, once there is no going out of the air, the sound stops. It is filled with knowledge. Now that is the complete knowledge. Now, but Sri Ramakrishna says, but the same water, if you put to another container, again that sound comes. That but if the water is poured into another pitcher, then you will again hear the sound. So Sri Ramakrishna says, these men of knowledge who have realized Brahman, to share their knowledge, to give some kind of indication of what Brahman is, they will share that knowledge to a limit. That sound will be there to a limited extent. But after that, there will be total silence. And that is how Brahman cannot be expressed in words. We can only have some rudimentary ideas. Like Vedas say Brahman is Satchidanand, that's all. But what is that Sat? What is that Chit? What is that Anandam? That only has to be realized. That only has to be experienced. That only has to be felt. For that, we have to go beyond the realm of senses and become one with the Brahman. Om Namah Shri Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Jai Thakur, Jai Ma, Jai Swamiji.